everybody. It is so good to be with everyone here. What we're going to do is start with some scripture and then turn it over to you all, see if anyone has any comments or questions on reflections on last week or your practice this week. Then I will be leading you through compassion meditation and training in that. And then at the very end, Phyllis is going to close us with a devotional, and we'll close off the recording at that point. And after the recording is over and after 5, what we will be doing is having a brief conversation about whether or if or how this group goes forward as just an open meditation group. And that conversation will be open to anybody who wants to participate in it. And I apologize for my dogs. We live across the street from Englewood High School, and they are just letting out right now. So the dogs are going nuts. If they get to be too loud, please wave at me and I will do something. I'm not sure what, but.
I'll bring you some medicine.
What's that?
I'll bring you some pills.
There you go. That would probably be good. Better than me striking them over the head. So, okay. So let's begin with our scripture reading. And the first one is from the 10th chapter of Luke. And a lawyer comes up to Jesus and says, "Teacher, what must I do to receive overflowing life?" And Jesus said to him, "Well, what's written in the law? What do you read there?" And the lawyer answered, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength. And you shall love your neighbor as yourself." And Jesus said to him, "You have given the right answer. Do this and you will live." And our second reading is from the 15th chapter of John. And this is Jesus talking to his disciples on the last night they are together, and him really trying to distill for them what his ministry is all about. And he says to them, "Abide in me as I abide in you. I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who abide in me and I in them bear much fruit. As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love. For this is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you." So what I'd like to do is open with just turning to you all and seeing if anybody has anything they want to share in terms of comments or questions or reflections on last week or your own practice during the week.
I would like to thank Nancy Erickson for her lovely poem. I've read it about 5 times this week, and I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nancy. It really was extraordinary. Is extraordinary. Any other comments?
I could just tell you that I have a lot of issues sleeping. Maybe you do too. Since I started meditating, I've been sleeping so much better. And last night I didn't meditate, who knows why, but I've decided that doing it before I go to bed is best for me. And I didn't sleep very well. So I think there's a clue there. And it's the first time in a few nights I haven't meditated. So I really appreciate that the practice is helping me with my life.
I'm so glad to hear that. And I think you'll find the one we're learning today is also really helpful to do at night, because if you're like me, my mind starts spinning about people I'm worried about, people I'm concerned about, and this can be a lovely way to just send them good wishes and turn off the worry machine. So hopefully that will work for you and for everyone else here as well. Any other comments or anything else anyone wishes to share? Okay. Well, let's get on to it. What we are learning today is actually a wonderful practice that I think of as kind of my own Christian variation on a very ancient Buddhist practice. And it's compassion meditation. Another way of thinking of it is the practice of open-heartedness. I have learned to love this practice, because one of the things I'm always doing is actually trying to figure out how to be more loving. And this is actual training in how to be more compassionate and be more open-hearted. It's the sort of training that can and should be practiced not just during the meditation time, but actually in all phases of your daily life. And for me personally, it gives me an alternative to intercessory prayer, the sort of prayer where you turn to God and say, "Dear God, please give X person Y thing." Because I'm the sort of person that kind of gets all tangled up in that and doesn't really understand why we're asking God, or if God is listening to us and saying, "Okay, I heard that list and I'm going to go through that checklist." This is a way of, when you tell people that you will pray for them, this is a way to pray with and for people without getting into that head game of what intercessory prayer is all about. So what I'm going to do is just, first of all, real briefly explain the basic practice. And it's a really simple practice. But then what I'm going to do is walk us through a longer explanation of the practice. And what we'll do is go back and forth with a little bit of explanation, and then a little bit of practice, and then a little more explanation, and then a little more practice on the next step, and a little more explanation, a little more practice. And we'll have, hopefully, plenty of time for questions and comments at the end. And what I will also do in our weekly email is send you a typed out version of the very detailed notes that I am using. So please don't feel like you need to be taking notes. I would much rather that you just be present. I know it's hard for people not to take notes, but try to just be present for the explanation and you'll get the notes later. So looks like almost everybody is muted. Great. Okay, so this is the 3 basic steps of the practice. First of all, you connect with your ground of peace or love or faith or centeredness, whatever it was you were doing with our first week of practice. Do that. Connect with your ground and start your breathing practice. Breathe in to receive it. Breathe out to send it. Breathe in to receive it and breathe out to send it. And think that word as you're breathing in and out, whether your word was compassion or peace or forgiveness or love, whatever. So get into your rhythm of breathing and sending. And then what you're going to do is start visualizing people and start sending your word, your reality to them. So you're going to start first with yourself. And you are going to breathe in your ground, and then send it to yourself. Say the word that you are using and send and really be present to yourself, to receiving and to giving. And then you're going to start sending it to other people as well. Just visualize people one by one. And as you visualize them, breathe in whatever it is that you are connecting with, and then breathe out and send it directly to them. So that is actually the core of the practice. Ground yourself in your source of life. With your breath, receive it and send it. Start with yourself by sending it to yourself, and then move on to others. Breathe in and send it to other people one by one. Start with the people that it's easy to do it with, and then move on gradually to expand the circle. So it's really easy in its basics. So what we're going to do now is move on to a little bit more explanation and deeper practice of each step. So step one, we remember, is grounding yourself in your source. And this is the peace practice that we learned from the first week. So what you want to be doing here is visualizing and connecting with whatever your source of life is, whether it is God or a Buddha or spirit or Christ or the waters of life. With your breath, connect deeply with that, receive it, feel it move through you, and name it. And that can be anything that you are receiving and that you wish to send out to others. In this practice, it is most typically the way Buddhists teach it. It is compassion. It is loving kindness. It can also be just a wish for happiness. Some of those may be easier or harder for you. It can also be peace. It can be love. It can be forgiveness. It can be healing. It doesn't have to be the same with every practice, and it doesn't have to be the same with every person. The key is to receive whatever it is you are going to be. Ground yourself in whatever it is you are wanting to be sending. And the other key is ground into it in a way that it can really flow through you. Often when I do this, I think of, for example, living waters, so that it is an image of something flowing into me and flowing out of me. It can be spirit and breath connecting. As Phyllis was talking about in her first week, it can be the fish that is surrounded with spirit, with water. You're breathing it, but you are breathing it in it, and then you are breathing out again. It can be Nancy Erickson's particles, a field of electromagnetic love that flows through you and flows out of you again. You can visualize yourself as a tree grounded in good soil and receiving water and air and nutrients, and through your branches, sending them out to people here. What's critical in this part of the practice and in your visualization is your connection to a source of life or love or peace or spirit or healing or forgiveness that is vastly larger than yourself, that you are tapping into and that you are becoming a conduit for. You are tapping into it. It is flowing through you, and you are passing it on to other people. Now, why is it so important that we get this flow moving and tap into this deeper, larger source? And it's because on your own, and I certainly speak for myself here, we as isolated individuals, we don't have a well of love and life that is deep enough to offer to every single person around us, and particularly to people that are suffering. The love and compassion and the healing and the peace that we are sharing with other people through this practice does not come from our own personal limited resources. What it comes from is the well of life, the ever-flowing, living waters that we tap into and that flow through us. We are conduits for the love of God, for Buddha nature, for Christ love, for a spirit that flows into us and out of us. We receive it into ourselves and send it out to others. So that is really the first step. It is tapping into and naming whatever it is that you are tapping into and want to send on. You are receiving it with your in-breath and sending it with your out-breath. So let's take just a couple minutes here. Settle down, close your eyes. We're going to do just a minute or two of practice. And settle into and visualize your source of life. Begin to breathe calmly and breathe easily, and ground yourself deeply and tap yourself into the flow. And with each in-breath, feel peace or love or healing flow into you. Feel it cleanse you. Feel it transform you. Feel it throughout your body in your deepest being. And then with each out-breath, send that peace, that love, that compassion, that healing out to the world around you. So let's just take a few moments and with your in-breath, receive, and with your out-breath, send. So receive and send. Receive and send. Receive and send. And when you are feeling grounded, when you are feeling grounded in peace, love, forgiveness, healing, that's when you're ready to move on to the next step. So if you want to, we're going to move on to our next explanation phase here. You can either keep your eyes closed as I walk through the explanation, or feel free to open them. So here is our, wish I could send a piece on to my dogs. Our next phase of this, which is the sending phase. And what the basic flow of the sending phase is first of all, to visualize a person. And as you try to visualize it, try to be really present to that person. And what is it with your in-breath? You're going to be receiving whatever it is that you have grounded yourself in. And with your out-breath, you will be sending it out to individuals. So with your out-breath, you will be inside yourself saying peace. And with your out-breath, actually sending it. So what is it that you're sending to all these folks? Again, traditionally it's happiness, loving kindness. What I try to think of is it's what the people I am sending to need and what I personally am feeling capable and feeling grounded in sending to them. The goal is the deep healing and well-being of those we are sending to, and also our own growth in open-heartedness. So as your word, as your reality, as your wish you are sending out, it can be compassion, it can be peace, it can be joy, it can be love, it can be forgiveness. This is really powerful as a forgiveness practice. And when you say forgiveness, what you are sending out is not only your forgiveness to that person, but also the wish that that person can receive forgiveness and can send out forgiveness to others. Same for healing. We are sending out healing and the wish that other people be healed. It can be mercy. It can be understanding, the wish that other people receive understanding and the wish that other people give understanding. It can be enlightenment. It can be strength. It can be hope. So again, with the in-breath, we take in whatever it is that we are going to be sending. And with our out-breath, we say it to ourselves and send it. And the first person you are going to be sending all of this to is your own self. And it is extremely important that you start this practice with yourself for lots of reasons. Before you can give peace to others, you have to have peace in yourself and establish peace in yourself. Before you can send true compassion to others, you have to be able to feel compassion for yourself. It is the whole reason why Jesus says, love your neighbor as yourself. It's not just a comparison. It is also the deeply grounded reality that we have to be able to give and receive love in ourselves before we can pass it on to other people and share it in a healthy way. So we're going to move on to our next step here and practice a little bit of sending compassion and forgiveness to our own selves. So close your eyes, settle down, start your breathing, ground yourself, start your breathing cycle of receiving breath and sending breath, grounding, receiving breath, and sending breath. And visualize yourself. and tune in as you breathe in and out to what it is that your own self is needing right now. Welcome, Bonnie. We're in the middle right now of a meditation practice, so please join us. And when you are tuned in to what it is yourself is needing, whether it's healing, forgiveness, compassion, peace, strength, hope, ground yourself, receive it with your in-breath, and send it with your out-breath. And really be present to yourself. Be present to yourself and really feel yourself receiving, and then feel yourself sending it to yourself. So this is a process of really loving yourself, receiving love, we're sending it to yourself. So we're going to do it just quietly for a minute. Ground yourself in your breath. Receive what it is you're receiving to yourself and send it to yourself. So we're just going to be silent for a minute of meditation. Okay, I'm going to move on to the explanation of the next step of our practice. You should feel free either to remain relaxed with your eyes closed or open your eyes. So our next step of this meditation is sending whatever it is that you have chosen to send on to others. And what the steps of the practice are going to be are you will take one person at a time and do with them just exactly what you just did with yourself. Visualize the person. Try to really be present to the person. And with your in-breath, you will receive the flow. And with your out-breath, you will pass the flow on, wishing and saying the word that you are passing on to this person. And I have found generally that it takes at least 2 cycles to really fully visualize and feel passing on to each person what it is that I am sending to them and wishing them. You can spend as long as you like with each person, as long as feels necessary and right for you. And then you will pass on to the next person and the next, again, spending as many breath cycles with each person as you want. And as you move through each person, what you are going to do is slowly start expanding the circle as you are ready for it. Expanding the circle fully can take you weeks, It can take you months. It can take you a lifetime. Because what the goal is to gradually, and really this is gradually so that you move on as you are ready for it, to expand the circle first through all of your loved ones, that it's easier to wish all of these things to, then expand it individually to your acquaintances, then to expand it to people that you feel neutrally toward, expand it to strangers that you meet in the street. Then the more challenging practice of expanding it toward people you are mildly negative toward, people who push your buttons a bit. Eventually expanding it toward people whom you consider to be, or who might consider themselves to be, your enemies, and gradually expanding your compassion to the whole world. So what we're going to do in our practice on this time is close our eyes, and we're just going to choose 3 people. You do not have to choose challenging people. You can if you wish. And we are going to, I'm going to walk you through it, and we're going to do the same thing that we did with ourselves, is you are just going to close your eyes, breathe and ground yourself, choose your wish, and be present to your 3 people, one at a time. So I invite you to close your eyes, settle down, and we'll begin this part of the meditation. So close your eyes, ground yourself, and begin to breathe. As you breathe, choose the wish that you are going to send out to people. And call up before you the first person you choose. Visualize them. Try to really be present to them so that this is not a mechanical process. With your in-breath, receive from the flow. With your out-breath, send them the flow and say your word. So it's going to be breathing in and sending. Breathing in and sending. Breathing in and sending. Now let that person go and call up another person. Visualize them. Be present to them. Breathe in and send to them. Breathe in and send to them. Breathe in and send to them. And let that person go. Now call up your third person. Visualize and be present to them. Breathe in and receive the flow. And with your out breath, send it to them. Receive and send. Receive and send. And now let that person go. So you can either open your eyes. We're going to move on to the next stage of explanation here. So again, feel free either to keep your eyes closed or to open your eyes and rejoin us. That is the process. Grounding, receiving, sending. starting with yourself and moving on for however many folks you have time for and how many folks you have the heart for. And when I say the heart for, one of the other things you're going to want to be very aware of as you practice this meditation is you're going to want to be aware of what's happening inside you. Posture can be important in this meditation because what we are doing is practicing open-heartedness and really feeling that flow that is moving into us and out of us, and that we are basically just the conduit for. It helps to sit in a way that is comfortable but erect, a way that keeps your heart and your chest open as you breathe and as you practice this, because a really erect, open-chested posture helps you to feel to literally keep your heart open, keep your chest open, keep the flow open, and it also, with that openness, helps you to feel when your heart is closing down. Because one of the things you are going to want to be aware of is when you start to feel a tightness in your heart, a tightness in your chest, or any other physical reaction you may be having. Because that is a sign that this is getting to be a little too much, perhaps. Your heart is closing down a little bit. Do not judge that moment. Just be aware of it. It happens to all of us. It's part of the process of growing your heart, of growing your open-heartedness. So when you feel that happening, what you do is go back and return to the source of the flow. Reground yourself in the flow, reground yourself in your source, and open your heart again to your flow. That in itself may be enough to open your heart again and to restart the process. But you may also want to be especially attentive to that feeling of closing your heart and to be attentive to what is causing it. What in you is in need of healing or openness or care or forgiveness. It could be lots of things. For me, when I started this practice again a couple of weeks ago, where my heart got stopped was on sending forgiveness to myself, because it actually made me come a little short with my own breath. And I realized that I wasn't fully open to giving myself forgiveness or receiving forgiveness. And I had to just stop and make that my practice for the day, was myself being ready to receive and forgive. You may find that with love, that you find yourself not fully ready to receive love in yourself. Go back and practice the flow of an open-heartedness toward yourself. You can feel the process stop. You can feel your heart start to close down a little bit when you get to a particular person. And there again, don't push it. Reground yourself in the flow and become aware of what it is your relationship with this person needs. Does it need for you to receive more forgiveness, more peace, more joy? Or do you need to be sending this person something else? Do you need to be sending them forgiveness? Do you need to be sending them healing? You may also get overwhelmed with the practice itself. And that is something also to be aware of, and to be aware of your heart, be aware of your chest, be aware of your posture, and figure out what it is that needs opening or regrounding or healing or care, and reground yourself and send what is needed to that place. And you may wish to change the word you're saying or the wish to fit the situation. Hitting that sort of constriction is not in any way bad. It is a normal and expected part of the process, because, as I say, this is the process of growing your own heart, the process of growing in open-heartedness. And when you stop yourself and ground yourself back in the flow, it will help your heart to open. So let me stop at this point. We have a little more to move through, but this is the basic process. And I want to turn to you all and ask, do you have questions or comments at this point that you would like to ask or share? Okay.
Nicely done and explained.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So what we'll do now is move on to a little bit more explanation of the practice. And what I want to do now is a couple of things. First of all, to offer another step of the practice. But I do want to be very explicit that this is a stage to move to when you are really feeling comfortable with the practice, feeling comfortable with receiving and sending, and you are really feeling grounded in this flow. That you can feel the flow moving toward you, through you, and you are feeling very expansive of heart. Because the next step of the practice, and again, this is for when and if you are ready to take this on, what you do is gently, when you are at the point of the practice, when you have another person in front of you, and particularly with a person that you know is suffering, what you do is, with your in-breath, you gently breathe in the other person's suffering. And you do it in order to take it away from them and relieve them of it. So here is where the connection to the flow from the source of life and being aware of yourself as a sieve or a conduit for the two-way flow of that flow becomes critically important. Because what you are doing is you are taking in the other person's suffering, but you are not taking it on yourself. You are becoming a conduit for the flow the other way. So what is happening is, I actually find it very helpful to visualize this, is have you ever seen a video, or perhaps you've done it yourself in a science experiment, where you have water or another clear liquid, and a drop of dark liquid is put into it, and gradually the dark liquid begins to flow and spread through the lighter liquid. Think of that, but run that reel in reverse. So what you are doing is imagining that mixed liquid, and with your in-breath, you are reversing the reel, and all of that darkness is being brought back out of the liquid. You are breathing it in yourself, but as you breathe in, you are not holding it in yourself. You are breathing it into yourself and back out of yourself. And it doesn't come to rest in me. It comes to rest and is held in the arms of what is beyond me. I think of it as the great heart at the core of the world, of God, of spirit, of Jesus holding out his arms to take on the suffering of the entire world. The Sacred Heart of Jesus. That is where the suffering is held, and that is where the suffering is healed. So what we are going to do is practice this just a little bit. Close your eyes and breathe in. Visualize someone who is suffering. Feel the flow going through you, and close your eyes and breathe in, and breathe in this person's suffering, and breathe out healing to them. Breathe in, and as you breathe in, picture that dark cloud coming out of them. You are breathing it out of them, breathing it in, but you are receiving it and sending it to the heart of the world. So feel the flow going through you. Feel the flow of their suffering coming in and out of you, and feel the flow of peace and healing flowing back through you and out to them. So breathe in and take away their suffering. Breathe out and give them healing. Breathe in and take away their suffering. Breathe in and send them healing. And as you breathe in their suffering, send that suffering into the great heart of the world. Send that suffering into the loving arms of the Christ. If at any point in that process you start to feel overwhelmed, stop. Stop and recenter. Stop and move back into the flow. So let's come back, release that. And the last bit of explanation that I would like to give to you all, because we are getting quickly to the end of class here, is this is something with or without that can be used every day during the day when you are not meditating, and it can be used really effectively in a wide variety of circumstances. The practice of grounding yourself, receiving whatever it is, joy, peace, and then sending it to the person who's in front of you. It can be used when you are talking and with somebody who is suffering. As you are with them, breathe in, ground yourself, send them love. It can be a wonderful way of, as you are with a person who you love, who is having a hard time, even if you don't have any sort of solution for them, as you are listening to them, as you are talking to them, that other part of your being and your brain can be with them, grounded, and sending them peace. It can be used when you're in the presence of someone who makes you crazy. I, in fact, use this with somebody who I work with a lot, who pushes my buttons. And while I am with them, I try to ground myself and send them good vibes, open my heart. It really helps me not to get caught up in judgment, not to get triggered. Use it when you're with a friend or with a loved one, just to be present with them, to send them good vibes. Use it when you're at a meeting that's making you crazy. Sit back and just receive and ground yourself and send good vibes to everybody at the meeting. It can be used when you're stuck in traffic. It can be used when you're waiting in line. It can be used when you're at the pharmacy. Just to receive and send good vibes to whoever you are with. We've got a couple minutes, and I apologize for our question and answer period being so short here, but I wanted to walk you through all of that. Questions, comments, reflections on what you've heard, what you're feeling. I'll open it wide up. So anybody? Donna.
I just wanted, am I muted? I just wanted to thank you so much, Anne, for all the preparation and everything you did. I've really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Dick?
At one point in this, early on today, I felt a kind of suspension.
Say more about Dick. What does that mean?
I wasn't really touching anything. I was just there.
It happens when you can actually feel that flow, being a conduit for the flow. People call it the Tao. It is the flow of life, of love moving through you, and you can feel actually suspended in it.
So Anne, have you, in doing this, ever had the person that you are sending respond back and let you know they got it?
Oh, that's so interesting. You know what? I haven't, but I will be open to that in the future. That's wonderful.
And can we ask that person?
I think that's terrific, because part of, if you're doing the forgiveness, you may also be receiving forgiveness from that person as well. And I do this practice with people who are living and people who are dead. And it's actually a wonderful thing to visualize people who have passed on and to send them whatever. So yeah, thanks, Pam. Others? Okay, well, thank you all so much for being with us, not only today, but being with us for these 4 sessions. I can't believe these 4 weeks have passed so quickly. They have been so meaningful to me. I know they have to Phyllis. All of your presences, all of your contributions have been extraordinary, and have really given so much to me that I really say namaste to each and all of you, and thank you so much for being part of this. What we're going to do now is pass it on to Phyllis, who will give us our closing prayers. We will, after the closing prayers, be turning off the recording. And then if you wish to stay around, that's when we'll be having our conversation about when and how and if to move forward with this in some form. So thank you all. And Phyllis, I turn it over to you.
I too want to join in saying a word of gratitude for all that this has meant to me. And so in closing, if you would join me in prayer, please. Dear Heavenly Father, creator of us all, we have felt your presence with us in these times. We ask and we long to feel this way again and again and again. We know that there is so much that needs healing in our world today. Sometimes it's overwhelming. Give us the wisdom and the clarity to know that we can't fix anything, but we also know that we cannot abandon everything. We will find something. Remind us too in our quiet moments, or even in our moments of distress, that these 4 weeks of learning spiritual or relearning spiritual practices are not themselves the goal. No, not at all. It's to help us follow the way toward living with more hope in these times that indeed trouble all of us. We ask for your blessing, your healing, your presence in a way that indeed holds us in suspension as we begin to allow the sense of merging of who we are and who others are. Thank you for the creation. Bless us, be with us, guide us. Amen. Lisa, thank you so much for being with us. And if you'd kindly end our recording at this time and indicate that indeed the recording has been completed.